All right, picture this. You're stepping into a high-fidelity, neon-lit biopunk rainforest. The air is super thick, the canopy is dense, and all around you, the immense, untamed machinery of life is just humming. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to hack our way through this incredible jungle of data to uncover what you could honestly call the ultimate biological and spiritual master code. We're looking at a synthetics, a total integration that brings together the hard physical laws of the universe with this profoundly beautiful spiritual architecture.
You know, for generations, we've been completely conditioned to view human origins as this fierce, zero-sum battle. You're basically told you have to choose a side, right? It's either evolution or creation. But what if the greatest debate in human history was just a massive misunderstanding? I want to challenge you today to stop seeing this as a cage match between two opposing forces. Because based on the fascinating sources we're diving into, we're going to see them as two halves of one perfectly complete system. They aren't contradicting each other at all, they're just answering totally different questions about our reality.
So, here's our roadmap for today's journey. First up, we'll look at evolution as God's son. Then, we'll hit the Homo nasnas ceiling. Third is Adam, the miraculous leap. Fourth, we'll explore man between animal and angel. And we'll wrap the whole thing up with dust versus eternal accountability.
Okay, let's jump right into part one, evolution as God's Suna.
So we really need to completely reframe how we view the wild, untamed era of natural evolution. The source material tells us that this massive biological unfolding wasn't just some random, chaotic accident. Actually, it was a highly deliberate, structured divine law, which in Arabic is referred to as a sunnah. We literally see direct textual evidence for this biological baseline, like the verse, "And we made from water every living thing." This is a foundational Quranic concept, and it aligns absolutely perfectly with what we observe in the natural world. The origins of all biological life trace back to a single, water-based chemical root. The fact that life organically unfolds and adapts from this watery origin, that's not a glitch in the theological matrix. It is the matrix. It's God's Sunnah, his universal, natural law of unfolding life.
Think about how this Sunnah plays out across deep time. Picture T-Rexes rocking neon sunglasses just roaming around in the background here. Eons ago, you've got the Big Bang, the absolute genesis of matter. Fast forward and life emerges from water, exactly as the text describe. From there, we get the natural evolution of species, which is this incredible organic progression of biological forms adapting and surviving. But here's the critical catch. This natural upward progression doesn't just go on infinitely forever in all directions. No, it progresses organically right up to a very specific ceiling.
Which brings us to part two, the Homo nasnas ceiling.
So what actually happens when natural biology goes as far as it can possibly go? Well, it produces a creature that is remarkably smart, highly adaptable, yet fundamentally still an animal. Our sources introduce this fascinating historical and biological parallel. In ancient Arabic texts, like the writings of Al-Damiri, there are accounts of these human-like creatures called the nasnas, which translates loosely to half-human. Today, modern science refers to this category as Homo. Think Homo erectus or Neanderthals. The nasnas represents the absolute hard ceiling of natural evolution. They possessed incredible biological hardware. They even had the FOXP2 gene, which we know is associated with speech, but they lacked the spiritual software. They were so fundamentally animal that ancient Arabs actually hunted and ate them as part of the normal food chain. Wild, right? Now contrast that with the true human, who possesses both the biological hardware and the spiritual software, the ruh, or spirit. Humans are entirely unique, accountable beings who sit completely above that natural food chain.
So the really crucial takeaway here is this. Discovering ancient, human-like species doesn't disprove creation at all. It actually proves it. How? Because it highlights the unbridgeable gap between the smartest animal and the true human. Homo erectus, Neanderthals, they represent peak natural evolution. They made tools, they shared biological similarities with us, but they lacked the ruh, the spirit, and the moral accountability that comes with it. The distance between the most advanced Homo species and the true human isn't just a quantitative pileup of extra genes. No, it's a massive qualitative leap, and natural biology all by itself simply cannot cross that gap.
Let's look at how that gap gets crossed in part three, Adam, the miraculous leap.
We are right at the threshold of that qualitative gap now. If natural evolution hits a brick wall at the nasnas, how on earth do we get true humanity? Well, the source material provides a completely logical architecture for this. Let's call it the creation matrix.
It requires a dramatic divine intervention that totally breaks the standard rules of the biological game. Our sources break down the 4 absolute biological probabilities of existence. First, creation with no male and no female. That's Adam, created directly from dust. Second, from a male but no female. That's Eve, from the rib. Third, from a female but no male. That's Jesus, created through the direct divine word, be. And fourth, from a male and female, which is standard biological reproduction for the rest of us. Look at how perfectly elegant that is. It accounts for every single variable. Adam wasn't the product of a slow genetic drift. He was a completely original injection into the universe's code, a direct, miraculous intervention that introduced the spirit into the physical world.
And just to really hammer home the miraculous nature of this direct creation, the sources give us a stunning metric, the number 60. According to the texts, Adam was created at a staggering 60 cubits tall. That's giant. He wasn't some primitive, struggling hominid trying to figure out how to stand upright. He was created in a state of absolute physical perfection and completion right from day one. He was literally a giant, both physically and in his capacity to carry that divine spirit.
Now, as the narrators from our source material, Salem and a very wise camel named Jassos, playfully point out, there is a fascinating, almost counterintuitive contrast here to how we usually think about progress. While the rest of the natural animal world evolved upwards biologically from simplicity to complexity, humanity's trajectory is totally unique. Because Adam started at a miraculous physical peak, those 60 cubits, humanity's physical evolution actually goes backward. Yeah, we are biologically decaying from that initial perfection. We've been getting smaller and physically weaker over millennia. But, and this is the key, our mental and spiritual evolution grows forward. Our hardware is slowly degrading, for sure, but our software is exponentially expanding.
Let's get into part 4, man between animal and angel.
We really need to look closely at this unique human operating system. Imagine a brilliant pillar of emerald light piercing straight down through the dense physical canopy of our biopunk rainforest, connecting the earth to the sky. That is what a human being is. To fully grasp this, we have to define a crucial term from the sources, barzakh. A barzakh is a dynamic interface. It's an intermediate state between 2 opposing poles. It's not just a midpoint where things kind of mix. It's an entirely new, active zone where 2 very different realities interact. Humanity is not a blank slate. We are a highly structured barzakh designed to perfectly harmonize the heavy material of the universe with the light of the divine. We are literally the bridge.
This concept brilliantly maps out the different operating systems of existence. So animals, they operate on pure nafs, which is basically bodily instinct, survival, and reaction. They are 100% bound to the earth in their biology. Angels, on the other hand, operate on pure ruh, pure intellect and divine obedience. They are completely bound to heaven and spirit. But humans, we are the barzakh. We possess both. We are the active bridge between earth and heaven. And it's exactly this tension, this push and pull between our biological instincts and our spiritual intellect that generates our free will and our moral capacity.
Let's break that dual consciousness equation down just a bit more. On one side, you have the nafs. This is our earthly tether. It gives us our physical awareness, our survival skills, our biological drives, our worldly desires. It's essentially that highly evolved animal hardware we talked about. But on the other side is the ruh. This is the divine installation. It provides our profound intellect, our deep discernment, our capacity for complex language, and our direct connection to the divine. When you integrate these 2, when the nafs and the ruh interact in the barzakh of the human heart, you get full human consciousness. This right here is what makes us creative, moral, and utterly distinct from the rest of the natural world.
And that brings us to our final section, Part 5, Dust versus Eternal Accountability. So we've seen how we're built, right? But what are the actual cosmic consequences of carrying this unique hardware-software integration? What happens when the system eventually shuts down? The sources draw a very stark, undeniable contrast regarding ultimate destinies. Because animals, and yes, this includes the highly evolved Nosnaz or Homo species, operate purely on the biological nafs, they lack a charged eternal spirit. So when they die, their biological system just powers off. They return to pure matter, to dust and stones. They just fold back into the natural cycle. But humans are fundamentally different. We face eternal accountability and resurrection. Why? Because that ruh, that spirit breathed into Adam, is a permanent divine installation. It doesn't dissolve into the dirt. It is permanently tied to eternity.
This whole concept really underscores the eternal gravity of the human condition. The sources explain that in the hereafter, the Barza actually flips. Think about it. In this world, our physical body is the foundation, and our spirit is housed inside it, subject to all the physical laws like hunger and fatigue. But in the next world, the spirit becomes the absolute foundation, and the physical body simply conforms to its state. Your eternal reality is dictated entirely by the spiritual code you've spent your life cultivating.
So, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on. We've looked at the data. We've seen the incredible synthesis of natural evolution peaking at the animal and the miraculous divine intervention that elevated humanity through the spirit. You are walking around right now with a biological chassis built from the earth and an operating system coded for the infinite. The question is, if you carry a master code designed for eternity, are you living up to your programming, or are you just running your life on basic animal hardware? Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this framework helps you see the profound architecture of your own existence.